14 teams from throughout New Zealand are here in the Wairarapa to contest the 5 stages, nearly 500 kilometres of the 2022 edition of the Trust House New Zealand Cycle Classic. Included in the teams this year is the former winner in 2011 and Tour de France rider George Bennett. He's also joined by World Tour rider Shane Archibald and the likes of junior world representatives, Olympians and Commonwealth Game champions, all here to win the coveted yellow jersey. The Queen stage of this year's tour saw a battle royale between George Bennett's led New Zealand team and the yellow jersey team of Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling. There was a flurry of attacks unfolding over the 137 kilometre journey around the undulating Carterton district, with Bennett's team time and time again forcing the pace up the hill. But the Flying Scotsman Mark Stewart held fast and responded in kind on the final climb up to Furry Hill to take the stage, secure the King of the Mountains and extend his lead in the yellow with one day remaining around the streets of Wellington. So joining us, of course, is the tour director, George Sandoval. Well, George, and that with the world conditions these days, it must be very satisfying to be able to put on an event such as this.
Yeah, it's been a lot of hard work this year to organize this bike race with the pandemic and coronavirus. So many events been cancelled, but we've been very privileged, really, to be able to stage the race in New Zealand, considering the many races around the world have been cancelled.
And how special is it to have the likes of a Shane Archibald, a George Bennett, those sort of guys that ride on the world stage?
Well, I saw those guys as young kids coming to my races. You know, they grew up here, and to see them riding the Tour of France, Tour of Spain, Tour of Italy, and now riding here in our race, again, it's a real privilege to have them here. It's good for the young riders who are racing against them to learn and have the opportunity to race with George Bennett and Shane Archibald. You know, so I think it's a win-win for everything, for the event, for the riders, for New Zealand road cycling.
And Mark Stewart, of course, the man in the yellow jersey, he's a great ambassador for the sport.
I've been organizing this race for 35 years. I have never had any rider come and tell me what Mark told me yesterday after he got the yellow jersey. I really appreciated his comments. He's very, very, very nice guy, and he's an amazing bike rider. So as an organizer, that's all you want, for riders to come here after the race, appreciate what you're doing, and tell you. So I was very pleased.
And finally, what do you expect of the streets around Wellington here today?
We've been very lucky and privileged as well to be able to race here. The Wellington City Council has been very helpful. I think the public is going to watch a really fast race. I expect the race, the bunch to be together most of the time, so it's good for the public. And hopefully the sprinters do the job at the end of the race.
Well, thanks very much for all the work that you do. It's been a great event.
Great, thank you.
Some fantastic crowds have gathered here in the Lambton Quay area of Wellington, the capital city of New Zealand, for this final stage of this year's New Zealand Cycle Classic. And they've had the club riders out having a bit of a race over half an hour. We had the young guns, a lot of the kids on their BMXs, mountain bikes, etc. as a bit of an entree to the main course here today, which we're about to get underway very shortly with 70 odd riders in this final stage of this year's tour. The capital city of New Zealand, Wellington, welcomes the New Zealand Cycle Classic today with riders contesting a 1.6 kilometre street circuit around Lambton Quay. They have 1 hour plus 3 laps, which will offer sprint ace points at 10, 30 and 45 minutes before the final gallop to the line to conclude this year's event. So the riders roll off in sunny conditions here in Wellington, but very blustery still, as you would expect for Wellington. Why wouldn't it be, as they start to head up Lambton Quay? They're going to make their way around the circuit for a neutral one, and of course you'll see the man in yellow, Mark Stewart, leading the charge here. Of course, he's got a 38-second advantage as they drop the flag there into it. You can see the various classification jerseys in the mix there, and of course the one that is being battled for in particular here is the green jersey. Nick Kirkazoo of Southland riding for the Continental team of St George. His team will be trying to keep a very close eye on things because it's very tight at the top of the leaders board when it comes to the sprint ace. And as we've mentioned in the past, 3 sprints up for grabs here for these riders, and also the stage finish to pick up points as well. 5-3 and 1 for the first 3 sprints at 10 minutes, half an hour and about 45 minutes into it, as we see already in the first opening stanza of the race, a few riders starting to head off the front. Not much of a reaction by the yellow team. They know who they need to keep a close close eye on. So who have we got here? Shane Archbold. What a surprise. And that the man that goes off the front here for the New Zealand track team. He's got himself, or he's been part of the New Zealand track team, I should say, in the past. He's part of the New Zealand national team here for the tour this year. And the three of them have headed off with the likes of George Jackson, a Wellingtonian, and a man who could charge off and take that green jersey. He's well up in contention at the moment, sitting at about 4th place. So that's his intention to be there. And it looks like the Coupland colours of Glenn Hayden is the man that's up there. A very good time trialist, and no doubt will add a lot of impotence into this particular group of three as they start to roll into action and open up a gap. It's now getting 10 to 12 seconds in front of these guys here. Doesn't sound like much as we see Kyrgyz's team on the front trying to control things. As the start of a sprint number 1, they get the whistle indicating for the riders here that they got 1 lap to go. It is 1.6k is the distance around each of the circuits here, over 1 hour and then 3 laps for these riders. But as we said, George Jackson in particular is the rider who is trying to pick up the points here. The other two, they're along for the ride. They're quite keen. They potentially might try and split this field up by making them chase this particular way here, which will allow some of their teammates to sit back and allow that to happen, or of course take out the whole stage victory as well. So Jackson, he's on a mission here today, and this is going to make things very, very interesting if he picks up 1 or 2 of these sprints. And it is Jackson who sneaks down the inside. He picks up the maximum points for himself. That should slot him up into 3rd overall as we see the yellow jerseys team coming through, still leading it. That is, of course, the Bolton Equities Black Smoke Pro Cycling team, who have been dominant throughout the week, of course. They took out the team time trial, and that put Regan Goff at that stage into the yellow jersey. And then his teammate, Mark Stewart, the next day, taking out 2nd place to put himself into the yellow jersey, and he's held on to it ever since, including, of course, the stage victory yesterday, the Queen stage of the tour and the big climb, and to come in with a good advantage. They are out there to guard everything. They've got riders available that could also challenge for the overall here. As we see a hand going up, a bit of mechanical going on. Looks like one of the Couplands riders. So there are 2 points on the stage here. Looks like it could be Paul Odlin with a puncher. And I think on the front wheel, he'll be looking for his mechanics net there. They'll send them to the points at the top end or the bottom end of the course to support him and get his wheel changed. He has 2 laps of which to get back into the race and ensure that he's got everything sorted out and back in there as safe as he can. As our CR3 off the front still, now opening a gap of over 20 odd seconds on the main field. Of course, with this particular course, they'll be able to see each other switching past as they go down one side of Lambton Quay and up the other. Up the top end around Balance Street as they do a bit of a dog leg through there. It's extended course this year. If you've been here in the past, each year they've opened it up a bit further. This year, 1.6 kilometres. As you can see those trees blustering, being blown about there in the Wellington winds as they make their way up a bit of a climb through Lambton Quay here, and the main crowds past the finishing line drop down the other side. Here's our trio, still working very well, very united together. The faces, though, starting to show a few grimaces as we see a 34-second gap now on the rest of the field as they start to approach the second of their sprints. One of the Cabjack riders, Castelli team riders there, trying to get himself off the front, but he's been brought back into the fold. It's going to be very hard in a criterium like this to try and get yourself clear when already 3 teams are being identified off the fronts here, and it is the St. George team. Ollie Jones, Hamish Keese, they're 2 men that are up the front. I mean, Ollie Jones sits overall second in the general classification after an outstanding climb yesterday, but he's out there today for the green jersey. No doubt we'll see James Harvey, the man in the most combative jersey, also trying to do the work for Kyrgyz. But these 3, they're doing a great effort. As we said, the Wellingtonian, the New Zealand scratch race champion, George Jackson, he's on a mission here today, and I tell you what, he's doing a great job with it. I was going to say he's the one with the mullet, but there's 2 of them out there at 35-second gap. That, of course, is the flying mullets, and there with Shane Archbold, the man that's going to be riding for Bora again this year on the world stage. It's very early in the stage, for training for him at least, as he prepares for some of the biggest races in the world. But he's doing a great effort off the front here. He is sitting in second wheel there at the moment. George Jackson leads them through. And again, the colours do not change off the front, as you would expect, as we get into the whistle once again. 1 lap indicated for them now as those 3 go through, and still the gap there at the moment, I just don't think at the moment it's close enough that they'll be able to reel that in over the 1,600 metres into this particular sprint. So George Jackson will be licking the laps at 27 seconds. He gets the call. They know that they'll potentially be able to take this. He'll still continue to try and battle on and take further as Jackson goes through. Yep, he'll roll through. Thank you very much. Give me the maximum points. That's 10 points for him now. And that now should be moving him right up into the leaderboard to about second place. So the challenge is going on here for the green jersey. Let's not forget, at 22nd gap here, Lawrence Pithy is another man that is battling for this particular jersey. And why wouldn't he? He's been challenging for every jersey all week. Let's throw in the sprint ace as well. Pithy's in the Fagan Motors white jersey. You can see him about 8 or 9 back there. He is currently leading in the under 23 category, but is certainly still in contention to try and take the green jersey. As Bolton Equities, Black Smoke, very prominent towards the front. So they're obviously interested, not only defending the man in yellow, but potentially trying to stir this race up and allow one of their riders to take the win. I mean, let's not count out the yellow. The way he's riding here, he can climb uphill. He's very strong on the flats. Why not take a criterium out as well? As the time begins to fall, 14 seconds as these riders approach the third of the sprints here. And of course the stage win also counts towards it. More points available in that final bunch kick to the line, if that's what it's going to be. Because here we go with St. George. They continue to wind it up. The Southlander, Hamish Keast, he's doing a huge amount of work on the front along with Ollie Jones. They've got the likes of Campbell Pithy also. Every one of their teammates contributing to try and shut this down. Now, the field will be very much aware of that, and that's why Stewart and co. more than happy to allow the St. George team to do so. As the Couplands rider, the Couplands, of course, team have done an outstanding week's racing. They got Keegan Hornblow. Let's not count him out there. He'll wait quietly in there and have a wee nudge, no doubt, at some stage in the race as well. But they've got the likes of Glenn Hayden off the front at the moment, who's, as I said, a very good time trialist. So he'll be quite at home here up these straights of Lambton Key, making their way through, as it looks like the whistle being prepared as we go through for the next of the sprints. It looks like Shane Archibald has set up. He's headed back into the main peloton. He's had enough for the day as it gets down to 8 seconds. 8 seconds is the gap here as we make our way into the third of the sprints here for the Sprint Ace title and ultimately to the stage victory. And George Jackson, Glenn Hayden, he is chewing on the handlebars. It is difficult out there. Windy conditions, and they've got an entire field chasing. There's Jackson. He takes himself maximum points and now becomes the virtual leader on the road for the green jersey. The Wiz Wireless sponsored classification has got a great battle going on here. And of course, he's also challenging for things like the under 23 as we see a mechanical here. It looks like the man from France, Raphael, has decided to pull on over, try and get the chain sorted out. But the breakaway nearly to be caught by the surges from the front. And look at the impact that Stewart's team is putting on here as they try and shut things on down. They come through and more efforts are going off the front here and making life very difficult. George Bennett, he's very prominent towards the front. Not necessarily the sort of race that he's into, the criterion, but he's not scared of mixing things on up. And how great is that to be seeing a Tour de France rider at the forefront of a stage here in Wellington, in New Zealand here, up close and personal. Outstanding to be able to see. They've seen Shane Archibald, of course, another of these world-class riders. This is fantastic stuff here on the final day of the Tour. And there's been one man who's managed to sneak himself off the front. He's now got 10 seconds, and that is the Olympian Regan Goff, riding for Stewart's team. They've given him the nod of approval and said, hey buddy, go for it, have a crack, this is your sort of stage. And it certainly is when it comes to Regan. He's got not a bad sprint on him, but also often is seen getting away in small breaks in any sort of stage racing. And here today, he's given it a crack off the front and is holding the field at 10 seconds here as they get to the closing moments of the stage here. Stewart on the front for his team. He won't be chasing his teammate down. He's just trying to keep things under control. Today, he switches from being the overall leader of the Tour to riding as a domestique for some of his own teammates. Pithy's on the front for the New Zealand team, for the New Zealand national team. He, of course, is a serious contender to take out the stage as well. As Archibald looks like he's had enough, thank you very much, but how fantastic has it been, as we've said, to see him in action throughout the week. He'll be in action throughout the season, leading out the likes of Bennett, that is Bennett from Ireland, that is for the Bora team, and some of the top sprints in the world. Meantime, the main field, what's remaining of them, because we've had about a third of them that have been drifted off due to the surges on the field around the 1600 metre course. And look at the crowds here in Wellington. They've lined up right around the entire course, and the noise as they erupt into it as they see these riders hurtling down here at over 60 to 70 kilometres an hour at a time here. They're absolutely loving every moment of it. Many of them have been here since early morning in anticipation of this fantastic event. Meanwhile, the Bolton Equities man, he's off the front and he's still just holding them at 10 seconds. There's not much in it, obviously, here as 3 laps now comes out. He is very pleased to see the board come out. 9 seconds is the official gap here now. As he makes his way down through it there, the riders will be well aware of the time gap. Can they time it to perfection? Can they make the right efforts here to ensure that they roll him on the line? The bunch often does it so many times, but can this be a day where the individual gets himself off the front and stays clear to take victory in this UCI event? Well, we see the wind's blowing there as he comes on through. This is going to be challenging for him. He has a sneaky look over the shoulder. It's still hovering around the 9 to 10 second range here. As he approaches 1 lap to go, the bell is out for him there. He's pleased to hear that. And look at the colours that we see up there. The green jerseys in there. I saw George Jackson getting himself in the mix. Also Lawrence Pithy. Of course, Jackson currently the virtual leader on the road. So Kirkusu knows he has to get himself up in amongst it. So does Pithy if they want to take out the green jersey. Currently, Jackson 2 points at the advantage, but it is Goff who comes around the finish straight. He takes out the win. Then it goes to Couplands and back to Kirkusu to take third across the line. What a fantastic ride there by Goff to hold off the strong finishing field here and complete the way in which Bolton Equities Black Smoke Pro Cycling began the week. They took out the team time trial. They take out the final stage and the overall general classification with Mark Stewart. Well, joining us here at the conclusion of this year's tour is George Jackson from the Mitre Q New Zealand Cycling Project team, and a man that lit the race up today. George, you're keen to try and get that green jersey.
Yeah, I had to get after it from the gun because I was quite a few points down on Kirkusu, so I was lucky to take all 3 sprints, but just on the last one, Kirky got up for third, so he got the points, but on count back he got it, but equal points, so yeah, made the fun race.
It made it a fun race, and it's certainly a spectacle for the crowd. They were loving it. Could you feel the support there, being a local boy?
Yeah, I heard a lot of people and seen a lot of people I know, so it was pretty special.
And you've enjoyed your week. Your team have had a great week's worth of racing.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Everyone's real happy from the team, all the management and all the riders, so yeah, we're happy with it.
And for you yourself, what's next on the agenda?
We've got Crit Nats in like a week, I think, so another one of these, so it'll be good fun.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in action again, and thanks very much for you and the team throughout the week. You've had some great racing.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we're joined here by the 2022 champion, Mark Stewart, and it's a great relief to finally make it to this stage, Mark.
Yeah, relief's definitely the word. When I crossed the line on that first road stage and they chucked everything at me and I had the weight of the whole team on my shoulders, yeah, relief was the word. And then, I mean, the pressure was so high on that stage that every stage after, when I had my teammates by my side, almost felt easier. And every day my confidence grew because we were just getting stronger and we were getting more of a hold on the race. So much so that we just came in today around that circuit and, to be honest, just dominated. We were at the front all day, and then look at Regan, just rode away. Amazing. And obviously a big highlight's winning it, but is there a particular highlight or a turning point in the tour do you think, yeah, I could seriously take this? The highlight would be Regan winning today. Over the years, Regan's been a real close friend and he's done so much for me that just been waiting for an opportunity to kind of try and pay that back and buy into him. The turning point of the tour would be that first day. I thought, if I can do this, like, everyone had a teammate and they were attacking me, and I managed to somehow stand that test. That was the turning point. I thought, right, okay, here we go. You wait till I've got my teammates.
And ultimately, how special is it winning a yellow jersey of a UCI event?
Amazing. Yeah, this is my first jersey. First yellow jersey. I got the polka dot jersey. I got a stage win. I won the tour. Yeah, it really is amazing. And like I said, in my adopted home country, this feels like my home tour. So I don't think it could get any better.
Well, congratulations to both you and the team. They put an outstanding effort throughout the week.
Yeah, and just thanks so much to Murray Bolton and to Scott and Will, Isaac, the mechanic, all the guys at Black spoke that had a bit of faith in me. It really meant a lot.
Well, all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.